Inside the OMG, episode 15. What's happening? Tonight, it's me, solo. Kelly and Barry have the night off, but I think I saw Barry in the chat, which is great. So he's available to answer any questions that you may have. So what's been happening this week? We're getting up to speed. We've got shows coming at you. Looks like we've got a show coming up in LA in August, and we're just finalizing the details, but looks like we'll be playing at the Mint on a Saturday night towards the end of August, and as soon as we have all the details, we will get that out to you. So that's really exciting. I've sent Barry a bunch of songs to learn, so he is in the middle of getting up to speed with some of the Olio catalog, and then we also have new ideas already percolating and new songs that we are going to start working on, which is super exciting. And we'll give you updates as we go, which is super cool. Let me see here. So we got quite a few people that have already joined, and it's good to see you here. Thanks for being here. And like last week, we were on Olio's Facebook page, which is a public page, but this week we're back for the exclusive folks like you in the special Inside the OMG Facebook group. So I really appreciate you coming along for the ride. So tonight, what am I going to do tonight? Couple episodes back, we kind of gave Kelly's music journey, his backstory. And last week, obviously, we introduced Barry Chenault. He is our new drummer. And we gave you some really great insight on Barry and all the cool videos that we got to share from his past, and just amazing things he's done with George Clinton and P-Funk and Gap Band, and a long list of other incredible acts that he's been part of. So tonight, I'm going to talk about my music journey from 2-3 years old on up to the present. So I'll kind of give you a backstory and a history of what I got involved with and what I practiced back in the day and what I was doing. So we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But first, I'm going to kick it off with a live video. This is Olio from 2017. We played at the Whisky. This is in Hollywood. This was April of 2017. And we're playing our single New Year's Eve. So without further ado, Olio at the Whisky 2017, playing New Year's Eve.
All dressed up and on the go. You're now wearing the flow. Looking good, Hollywood vine. Yeah, tomorrow, now's the time. Disco party, Twilight Zone. Disco party, Twilight Zone. It's a throwback we can know. Saving power, simple food. Looking in and sexy shit. It's another make-believe. We can fight New Year's Eve. I can feel it, this ain't gonna stop. New Year's Eve. I'm not waiting on the ball to drop. New Year's Eve. We can party like it's 99. New Year's Eve. Alright, good time. There's a night of baby blue. Flashing backwards, take a trip. We rocked it on the Sunset Strip. With my crew we got around. Back in the day we all got down. Let's go! Disco party, Twilight Zone. Disco party, Twilight Zone. It's a throwback we can go. David Bowie, super food. Look at me, sexy shit. It's another make-believe. New Year's Eve. I can feel it. It can't stop. New Year's Eve. I'm not waiting for the ball to drop. New Year's Eve. Gonna party like it's 1993. In the middle of a good time.
Eve at the Whisky. So yeah, Jimmy had a question, and Jimmy was there, and he took this really cool 360 video that he captured, and actually I think that wasn't my son taking video. That could have been my daughter or my wife that was taking that. So yeah, I'd love to sync up audio with whatever 360 video clips you have. That would be amazing. So after the show, we can connect, or tomorrow, and we can figure that out. So yeah, super fun. That was a really fun night, and I don't remember. I don't remember who else performed that night. Maybe Jimmy, do you remember? I don't know if it was a bunch of other local bands, or I'm trying to remember who. Maybe Jimmy, you remember. If you do, go ahead and throw it in there, and we can share with everyone. So anyway, in the meantime, we're going to move on. I'm going to give you my history, my story. So, my parents are from former Yugoslavia, and I was born in Canada, and we made it to the United States. I was 2 months old, and my uncle, my mom's brother, he, at the time, let me think about this, if they were still playing. He was in a Dixieland jazz band, and he played trombone. It was a 7-piece band, and they played all over Europe. They were a hot band. They were backing up different singers. And in the family, he was like the legendary musician. He shared the stage with Louis Armstrong. He played, like I said, all over Europe for royalty, really fancy parties. They were on the radio. They had albums out. So in my head, they were a big deal. And I gravitated towards music. And the story goes, when I was 3 years old, my mom would play various albums from classical, jazz, pop, rock, whatever was happening in the day, but also just, a bunch of different music was always playing in the house. So I really loved Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. With the cannons and the whole bit. So I would march around the dining room table while that song was playing, and I would conduct. This is how the story goes. And I'm conducting, marching around the table, and friends from the neighborhood, kids from the neighborhood would come over, and they wanted to play, so they were stopping by to say, hey, come outside and play. And I would make them wait until the music was over, because we don't interrupt the song. So I would continue to march around the table until the piece of music was finished, and then I could go outside and play. So that was a memory that my parents had of me. That was just a regular thing that I was doing, conducting music. And that was such a part of my childhood. Around 7 years old, I really wanted to play guitar, and I was really small. My hands were really small, and I had a hard time putting my hand around the guitar neck. So Mom suggested, well, why don't you play piano? That could be an easier way, an easier thing to do. And so, okay, fine. And we're gonna do the piano thing. So I started taking lessons, and my first teacher, she was great, but I wanted more, and I was kind of burning through the lessons really quickly and the material, and I asked her, can I come twice a week, because once a week just wasn't enough, and she felt that I was going to outgrow her pretty quickly, and so there was a lady in the neighborhood, Norma Ramberg, who was a fantastic teacher, and she taught classical piano exclusively. That was what she did. If you came to her, you were going to play classical music. That was it. So we had inquired about Mrs. Ramberg, and she was full. She was completely booked with students, no openings. Sorry, can't help you. So after I had taken lessons from this other lady for about 6 months, she then called Mrs. Ramberg and said, I think you need to take a look at this kid because I can't really do much with him anymore. He needs to come see you. So off I go to Mrs. Ramberg, and she's auditioning me, and I don't realize that, but I sit down and I play whatever I had learned. And she said, okay, I'll fit him into my schedule. So for 6 years, I took lessons from Mrs. Ramberg, and it was intense. I had to memorize a bunch of classical music, and there were festivals that I would perform at, and guilds and recitals. And, I was supposed to practice 45 minutes to an hour a day. And it was sometimes not so much, sometimes 5 minutes a day. And I would remember the clock sitting on the piano, and I was just crying. I'm practicing and I'm crying. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go play or just do something else, but fine. Forged ahead, kept, the intense schedule. And by about 13, 14, my hands were bigger. I thought, it's guitar time. So I begged my parents to go halves on an electric guitar, because I'd been fooling around on acoustic guitar. And any of you that, you play guitar, acoustic guitar is kind of tough to learn on because the strings are thicker and the action's a little, farther away from the guitar neck. So I found a Les Paul knockoff, not made by Gibson, but made by Hondo. And for my birthday, I had been mowing lawns and saving my money. So we went in halves. I went in halves with my parents for this electric guitar. So they thought, all right, fine. We'll get him this guitar. It's a phase. Fine. Go ahead. Do your thing. So my phase turned into my career. And my mom will tell you, I would just endlessly practice. And I would practice the solos and the high notes. And she would come in and say, do you have to practice those high screeching? It sounds like a cat is just clawing and in agony and in pain. Please, do you have to do that? I had to do it. I had to, I saw Jimi Hendrix. I saw videos of Hendrix, and then Eddie Van Halen, and that was it. And piano was just, see ya later. Classical piano's not so cool right now. I'm 14, and rock guitar is where it's at. So I start learning by ear. This is before YouTube. So we're not watching videos, and, you don't have nice tutorials for you to learn. I'm old school with the album, and I'm lifting up the needle and bringing it back and playing it and bringing it back and playing it and bringing it back and playing it and just trying to figure it out. And slowly but surely, I'm going from single note copying to power chords and then solos, and started bands in high school. I was into it. So I'm graduating high school. I'd been accepted to business school. My dad's an architect. He was excited to have me follow in his footsteps. I'd been working at his architecture firm as a draftsman, and first I was, by hand I'm drafting, and then we'd switched over to computers and doing pretty well and pretty proficient. But my heart's not really into that. That's not where I feel like I'm going to be my happiest. And so I was accepted to business school and decided I can't do it. I can't go. I'm going to be crushed. I just can't. So my parents said, well, what are you going to do? You got to do something. You got to figure something out. So I had found a music school in Hollywood, California. And at the time, I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, 3,000 miles away. And my parents are thinking, what is he going to do out in California? Why? He has no business going out there. What? Okay. My mom said, all right, you figure it out. You get the applications. You send in your audition. You do what needs to be done. And let's see if you get into this school. So the school is Musicians Institute. It's in Hollywood. I make my audition tape. I have to play several pieces of music. And I think I had to do some sight reading. And I don't know how I maybe I had to record. I don't know. It was kind of an honor system. Maybe I had to record myself, sight reading something. And so I sent it in. And I was accepted. So now we had the task of figuring out where I'm going to live, what's my day-to-day going to be, and we were off. So I'm 17 years old. I move out to Hollywood. I find a roommate, another kid that was actually from Maryland, and his name was Kenny. So shout out to Kenny if you're seeing this. We shared a studio apartment right across from the Hollywood Bowl. I was on Hollywood Boulevard, just a few blocks from MI, and I have no car. I can walk to school. I can walk to Ralph's, get my groceries, and now I'm practicing 12 hours a day. It's a 12-month program. I think now they do a 2-year program, but at the time it was a 1-year program, and I'm practicing and I'm practicing and I'm practicing. I'm learning a ton of stuff, and it's becoming robotic. I'm sounding just, really technical and working on my scales and working on my arpeggios and my sweeps and all that stuff, I'm big into metal and hard rock, and that was like the thing and for me. And I'm learning Metallica songs note for note and Van Halen and doing all that. So highlights for me at the time, remember, this is pre-internet, pre-smartphone. So the mailbox, yes, the mailbox was my friend. That was the ritual. I would come home from school, I'd check my mailbox and see if any of my friends had written me a letter. So I had this ritual of I'd bring up the letter, I'd make my dinner, and I'd sit down after I had made my either, spaghetti, or I'd make burgers, or I'd bake some chicken and mashed potatoes and some broccoli. And I'd sit down at my little dining room table and I'd crack open the letter. And there it was. I was in touch with my people from back home, my good friends. And that was the highlight. It was practice 12 hours a day and read letters and write letters. And that's what we would do, because the phone bill was, long distance calling was too expensive at the time. So that we really kept that to a minimum. So it was all about writing letters. So I do the MI thing and I graduate, I finish. And about that time, I figure out, okay, I want to get into a band. I want to find some musicians, start a rock band, play on the Sunset Strip. So that's what I did. I found a mutual friend had introduced me to George and Mike. They're from Florida. Shout out to George and Mike. What's up? And we needed a bass player. We needed a singer. So we were actively looking. Found a bass player, Scott. What's up? And then found a singer, Chris. We were a 5-piece, 2 guitars, bass, drums, and a singer. And we were had harmonies, and it was a hard rock thing, kind of like Bon Jovi. That was, I'd grown my hair out, had the look, which I'll show you some pictures in a minute. Oh yeah, I got some pictures. It's great. So at the time, Guns N' Roses had already taken off. They were huge, and Motley Crue and Van Halen. The Sunset Strip was a big deal in the 80s. So this is towards the end of the era. It's 89, 90. It's, around that time. I think 89 was our first show, and we played at a place called Gazzari's. So Gazzari's on the Sunset Strip. I mean, they launched The Doors and Van Halen and Motley Crue, and I think it was April 27th of 89 was our first show. We played at midnight and we packed that joint out. It was awesome. And you could go every weekend. They would basically shut down the street on Sunset Boulevard from about, I guess, from where the Viper Room is now, all the way past the Rainbow. So it's like a 2 or 3 block stretch. You know, the Roxy, the Whisky, what's the other? The Rainbow Bar and Grill. So it was a madhouse. Everybody's on the streets, and we're promoting, and we've got our flyers. We've got our cool band photo on our flyers, and we're promoting the shows at Kazari's and the Whisky, wherever we were playing. And you could quickly build a following and quickly pack out the club. And you felt like a rock star. I mean, you're playing to a packed room and screaming fans, and it was a blast. So we were about 5 shows, 6 shows in, and we're building our following. And I knew a guy from Capitol Records. He came out, and he was blown away, and he really wanted to pitch us and, you know, get us a deal with Capitol. And about that time, the band imploded, and it was just like, I don't think this is going to work out. We had different ideas, different directions, and we just kind of split apart. And that was it for the hard rock band. And by the way, we were called Arquette. I think Mike and George were Rosanna Arquette fans, and so we were trying to come up with a band name, and they were like, oh, we should call it Arquette. I'm like, okay. So we were Arquette. Funny story down the road with Arquette and that family and me with another situation that I played in like 10 years after that. But I'll get to that. I think it's in the pictures coming up in the slideshow. So that ends. I end up going to Long Beach State, and I decide I'm going to major in film and minor in music because I want to score films as well as perform live. I love performing live, but I also had this idea and this dream to write music for picture. So I enroll in Long Beach State, and in the middle of the year, it's like second semester, and that's when it started, and met some great friends. I think Joe Flores is in here in the chat tonight. So what's up, Joe? Met him from during that time at Long Beach. So no band really at that time, but I'm writing songs, and I'm kind of figuring out what it is I want to do. I'm trying to reinvent myself. I'm realizing, okay, I'm not gonna. I did have another rock band. That's right. Before I went solo, we were called Sweatin' Bullets. Colin Stringer, what's up? Colin, the drummer with the North drums. Barry, you know about the North drums. Barry has a North drum set. Those are the drums that kind of the toms kind of come out. They look like big Bermuda shorts, and they sound huge. So Colin, he could play like this with the sticks, and he's flipping the sticks and throwing the sticks, and so we had a 5-piece band with Colin, and we were a heavier rock kind of thing. It wasn't so Bon Jovi-ish, but and we did that for a bit, and we played. I think we played Dragonfly, and we played some other spots, and that went for a couple years, and then kind of that broke off, and then Colin, myself, and a bass player, we did a little thing for a minute, and then it was time to reinvent myself. So I started writing songs, and it was just, I was writing to write. It didn't matter the style. I was big into Elton John at the time, and you know, singer-songwriters, Billy Joel, and realize these are piano guys, but it was just time for me just to write. So I put out a solo album. I had met, let me think, did I record? Oh, okay. Through my travels, I'd met Eric, who is a fantastic guitar player, who offered to play bass, and then Doug Sanborn on drums, and Al Keith on percussion. So the three of them with me, we would go out and we'd perform these songs I'd written. We played at Largo, and we played at Sacred Grounds in San Pedro, so coffee houses and kind of more chill places. The hair was still long, but I was kind of transitioning into more like pop, rock kind of territory. Then we did that for a while, and Tony Shibumi, bass player, he came in and started playing bass for some of these shows. And then we decided, or I decided, I said, hey, Tony, I want to actually start a band. I don't want to do this solo thing. I want to have a band. Let's do a 3-piece band. So then the search was on to find the right drummer. And we went through 5 drummers and finally found D. And we were called Vivid at the time. And then a band named Vivid from Germany, they were on Virgin Records. They reach out to us and they say, hey, you guys can't use the band name Vivid. That's us. We're already on a major label. Cease and desist. All right, what are we going to do? So looking through anything we can, kind of brainstorm names. I'm looking through the dictionary. I find Olio means miscellaneous collection of musical or literary works. And I thought, perfect. We're a hybrid of rock and funk and pop, and we're just kind of throwing it all in. Olio was born. So I think you've got the Olio story already from past episodes, but I just wanted to give you an overview of my journey through, my classical music to my hard rock years to the pop rock thing. After I graduated from Long Beach State, I had an internship at Capitol Records, and I was in the licensing department. So I made sure that songwriters were paid. And I was there for a few years, and it gotten to a point where I really wanted to be on the other side. And before I'd gotten the job at Capitol, I went to Def America, which was Rick Rubin's label. And I'm in the interview, and the guy that's interviewing me, he says, well, you seem really qualified. You're a smart guy. Okay. What is it you really want to do? And I thought, now's my chance. I'm going to tell him my dream. So I said, okay, well, this job's great, but what I really want to do is play music for a living. So my plan is I'm going to work my butt off here, and then I'm going to have my band, and after hours, I'm going to forge ahead and do my thing. And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to do you a favor. I am not going to hire you, because this is what's going to happen. You're going to work here. You're going to work 12-hour days, and you will grow to hate it because you will have no energy for your own music. And eventually, you're going to quit. You're going to quit this job here so you can jump into music. So my advice to you, stand on the street corner and play your music and do your thing. And I would much rather see you out there, and I'll support you. I'll find you, and you do that. I didn't want to hear any of that. So forget you. I ended up going to Capitol Records, and, I had already been interning, and I got my job there. 3-4 years later, he was right. So I jumped in feet first into music full time, and then I was wearing all kinds of hats. I was playing in cover bands. I was doing session work. I was giving guitar lessons, playing in other bands. Also had, my own band. And then, started transitioning to writing music for documentaries and commercials. And it was pretty much, hey, do you know how to? Oh, yeah, I got it. So I didn't, but I figured it out. And as we all do, we say yes, and we keep moving forward. And so now I've been writing music for commercials and documentaries, TV shows, and that's the other side of my life. And I love it. I just love creating music, and I love performing. And there it is. That's my story. Okay. Whew. A lot of people have joined. This is awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Let me see if there's any questions. Hey, Eric's here. Oh, man. That is so cool that you're in here, Eric. Yep. Man. So Eric is he's the guitar player I'd mentioned who played bass. And he's on the first album I released, and it's called Lost. So it's a 10-song album, and he's playing bass, and Doug's on drums, and Al's on percussion. So such a fun time in my life, and it's crazy. Here we are. Jimmy, what gear did you record your early stuff on? Well, my early days, I had a 4-track, Tascam 4-track, and I was doing 3 tracks and then bouncing down to the 4th. I'd make my comp track on that 4th track, and then I had 3 tracks, right? And then I'd do 2 tracks, and then I would comp that 4th track with the 2 tracks onto the 3rd track, and then I would open up another track. So it was, you had to really think and plan ahead, and that's how I did it in the early days. Even before that, I had this amazing, I had a dual cassette, little portable, stereo, and had a built-in microphone. So I was able to actually use that as well. I would make recordings, I'd play guitar, and then I would record that, and then I could overdub and just overdub and overdub. So trying to figure all that out. When I started, once I, moved on to the digital age, and before I had my own gear, then I would go to studios like Eric and Doug had introduced me to Vaughn, and Vaughn had a studio, and I think it was a 24-track, probably 24-track, 2-inch tape, and I'm not even sure what the brand was, but I mean, it was a legit studio. I'm a 24-track studio, and the drum room was in the garage down in the basement, and he had rented a house in the Hollywood Hills. So that's where I recorded that first album. And then the amazing thing is I needed a place to live. I was living in Redondo Beach at the time, and Vaughn needed a roommate. One of his roommates had moved out, so there was an empty room in this house. Perfect. I moved in. Half the house is a recording studio. I'm living in the Hollywood Hills, and there's these amazing parties. Alanis Morissette, who was just she was exploding, and she's at the party. And then Nancy Wilson, she recorded a bunch of stuff, I think for the Jerry Maguire soundtrack. She recorded that at the house I was living in. And fun fact, she had left all of her gear for months in the studio. Vaughn was engineering all of this Nancy Wilson music. And so she'd come over every day and record. And if you don't know Nancy, she is such a sweetheart. She is so genuinely nice. So great. So I got to meet her and talk to her. And so I got to play the Barracuda guitar. She had the Barracuda guitar there at the studio. So I got to play Barracuda. On the Barracuda guitar. I mean, come on. It's a heart classic. So, and then years later, we end up opening for Nancy Wilson. This was actually last year. We did a date with Nancy Wilson's new band, Roadcase Royale. And so fun. I got to reconnect and chat with her and reminisce about, years ago. So there you go. So that's the gear I was recording on. The Matchless amp. That was at Vaughn's place. Absolutely. Beth is asking me, how do you find what to write about? A lot of the things that I write about, things that I get inspired by, things I observe. I'm always looking for a hook, something, a theme that's catchy. Sometimes it needs to be a therapeutic thing. I'm feeling a certain way. I need to get it out. So it kind of runs the gamut of, seriously emotional things I need to get out, really funny, ridiculous things that I decide I want to write and put out there. And then, it just kind of runs the gamut between those things. And one of the things I like to do to help me with the writing process is I will keep a journal. And this is a Gamble and Huff trick. Gamble and Huff, amazing songwriters, producers with tons of hits from the 70s. They would keep a journal of song titles. And so you just come up with the song title, you jot it down. Now I keep it on my phone. I have a note that is ever-growing list of song titles that I just come up with and jot down. And then when I'm ready to write and I'm in that writing mood, I refer to the list and I see, oh, how about that? That looks like an interest. That's how we did Get a Room. The song Get a Room, that was on the list. And I was like, Get a Room. We should write a song, Get a Room, You see couples making out in public and people shouting, Get a room. So that was the idea. We were in Vegas at the time, and so decided to write, finish that song there. Rich People Problems, same kind of thing. I'd written down the title, Rich People Problems. That'd be a good song. And then we met the guy in Malibu who was living in Malibu and complaining about life in Malibu, and perfect. Rich People Problems. This guy, we're writing a song about this guy. And there you go. And so that's, some of the ways, some of the things. George, what's up, man? George is here. This is so perfect. Okay, Beth with another question. What instrument do you typically write on? Piano, guitar? I write on both. So sometimes it's a piano thing. I sit down and then translate it to guitar, and sometimes it's a guitar thing. So kind of they both hit. They're both used. No rhyme or reason. Just kind of I get inspired and I go. So it's interesting. I like to sometimes just have lyrics written first without thinking of melody, and then I'll put the lyrics at the piano and just start playing and just really try to get out of the way. And the song, the lyrics will evoke some kind of an emotion or a theme, and that kind of inspires where the music should go. So that's one way to go about it. So Brian's in here. What's up, Brian? Brian, we saw you today. Man, good to see you. Small world. Okay, I am going to show you some photos. And this is photos of me from back in the day, from the 2 years old on up. So I'll quickly go through some photos. So here, this is 1989. This is the first show I was telling you about, and that's George, who had just entered the chat. What's up, George? We are at Gazzari's. This is the first show. We're on stage and we're playing. And you can't really tell by the shot, but we are. April 27th, 1989, sometime around midnight. There we are, doing our thing. This is, that's me, second from the right. I'm Ace Frehley. This is a tribute band I was in. The guy playing Gene Simmons, that's Vaughn. He's the guy that lived in the house in Studio City with the studio. And that's Adrian on as Peter Criss, and Kent James. It's not Kent James, sorry. It's, real name is Kent, but that is Jackie Beat playing Paul Stanley. And we were called Kiss My Fat Ass. This was Jackie's creation, and we did this tribute. There was a club called Coconut Teaser in Hollywood. We would pack it out. Gene Simmons came, or he sent somebody to video us because the buzz had been growing. We played Luna Park and Dragonfly. So it was a really fun time. This was in the 90s. So we were playing, Kiss songs note for note. Crazy. So here I am with Alexa, and this is a few years back, and this was a fun thing, just collaborating with my daughter. And Miko and I doing our thing. He had just started playing drums. Actually, he had started at 5 months old. And so, playing music with your kids, it's the best thing ever. So there's Miko and I rocking out. And this is us in Alaska. Beth, Alexa, Miko, myself. This was the Vans Warped Tour kickoff show 2016. And that was a great day. So fun. So we're back to that. Now, this slideshow is completely out of order. Let me see. I'm trying to see what's happening here. Just give me a moment. Bear with me as I switch slides. So this is what I'm going to do. I am inside the software. I am going to swap some things out. There we go. That's where I wanted to start. That's my mom and me. I'm maybe a year old. Could be. First guitar. Don't know what I'm doing, but I was destined to be a guitar player. That's me at piano. Got my metronome in the left there, and that's my brother, Bronco. What's up? I think Bronco's in here tonight. So he's fiddling with the keys, and there we are I'm practicing to the metronome, I'm sure. Practice, classical music. There's my Gibson Flying V. That was the second guitar. I had already been playing my Hondo, and I'm very, what an artistic shot that is of me. I'm in my mood. Probably 15 years old there. And I'm playing, and I'm making that guitar screech like a cat. This is a New Year's Eve party at my parents' house, at our house. I'm probably 15. Look at the wristband, I've got bandanas going on. Those are spandex pants and my Gibson Flying V. I am so rock and roll. Amazing. Talent show at Thomas Jefferson High School. What? That is Andrew next to me. He was the singer. And Dale on bass. I mean, we've got bandanas for days. Look at that. And Greg on drums. I don't think we won that year. This, I think, was freshman year. 9th grade. So it's that same year as the New Year's Eve party. So I'm about 14, 15, somewhere in there. And we were playing Motley Crue. What else do we play? That's all I remember right now. We did 3 songs, but anyway. All right. And then I've got another slideshow. I have to swap this guy out. So the beauty of this is you all are bearing with me. I so appreciate it as I go through my technical difficulties. And now I'm going to show you the next set. Yeah. All right. This is the following year. I think this is junior year. So maybe I was a sophomore with all the bandanas. Now I ditched the bandanas, and now we're a little bit more serious. That's Ronnie on bass and Drew singing. Shoot, I don't remember who's on drums. If Greg was still on drums, or if Mike was on drums. Maybe it was Mike. Could have been. So yeah, look at that. Taking a knee. Wow, what a guitar solo. This is senior year. How about that black and white getup? And that's Chip on bass. You can't see Mike Connery on drums. And we ended up winning Best Band. Finally, we did it. Best Band senior year. So I had that's a black tank top and my white jacket. Well, that is my Sonny Crockett or, my Miami Vice vibe with my red Charvel guitar. Doing it. I am doing it. Senior year. Amazing. So this is a few years earlier, probably 13. That's the Hondo. That's the Les Paul guitar. And that's my brother Bronco on drums. I had convinced him to just bang along. I wanna just jam with the drummer, please. So he's beating away, and I'm playing Hendrix probably, or Van Halen, or something like that, thinking I'm doing something. I was so excited. And there we are a few years later. Bronco had picked up the guitar and started taking it seriously, and I'm probably showing him some things. I had already moved out to LA, and I had come back home and, showing him some things. Bronco ended up going to Berklee College of Music after he graduated high school and did his thing there. And he went on to form a band called Sandbox Kings. Great band. He's a great writer. And we've done some collaborating. He and I wrote Box Spring together. So great. There we are. And, how about that look? This is 1990-ish. And this is around that, Arquette. I think Arquette was over, but I don't know. This is around that time. And, I've got that hard rock hair metal look. I mean, man, look at that hair. And I've got a bolo tie and the leather trench coat and the leather boots. What a look. All right. So there you go. Trip down memory lane. Woohoo! Fun. All right. The next thing I want to play for you, a couple years ago, we did we called it the Southwest 10 tour, and we did 10 dates, 10 shows in 10 days, and we went to Austin and back, and we gigged with Vanilla Sugar, friends of ours. And here is soundcheck at Texas Mist. This is in Austin, Texas. And the camera's really down, kind of at my feet, and it's showing D, and he's checking the song Round and Round that he sings lead on. So here we are, Texas Mist. This is August of 2017, Austin, Texas. There I am, Round and Round, Texas Mist. That was a cool venue. Good sound. good stage, good lights. That was fun. All right, so the next thing I've got queued up, I wanted to share this with those of you that couldn't be at this event. This was in early May of this year. This is during DeHaven's homegoing service, his memorial. His wife Leah had asked me to perform a song of ours called Gift of a Smile. And Dee and I had performed it at Friendship Baptist Church, which I played there for 15 years. And Dee grew up there because his dad was part of the founding members, the 27 founding members. And he'd grown that church into a membership of thousands. I think the time I was playing there was like 5,000 people, and it was just amazing. So we came and we played Gift of a Smile, Dee and I did, back in 2003. So when Dee passed, tragically, Leah had asked that I perform the song again and in his honor. So we got Romeo on drums. I was able to contact Alex Evans, who played bass with us at that time back in 2003, who is an amazing bass player. He was at Friendship for a while and plays with lots of artists, and he's Patti LaBelle's bass player currently. And he was available and in town, and so he came and played bass at the memorial, which was fantastic. And Kenny Fields is on keys, and Mac Wanell Bentley is on organ, and Debbie D singing background vocals, which she did with us back in the day, 2003, 2004. And then I also asked my daughter Alexa to join in background vocals. So here we are a few weeks ago at Friendship Baptist Church doing Gift of a Smile for my brother, D.
So, I met D in '97 because I was looking for a drummer. And look what I found. I found all of you. He became a brother. He became my musical partner. We wrote songs together for 22 years. And when you're writing songs with somebody, you are vulnerable. You are sharing everything about who you are. And you have each other's backs. Dee had my back. I had his back. So, cut to Friendship needed a guitar player. And Greg Jones at the time, I had met Greg through Dee, and he said, "Hey, do you want to come play guitar here?" And I said, "I've never played gospel music." He said, "I heard you play, just play the blues. That's all you gotta do, just fill. You'll be fine." So I came in, winging it, and everybody here was so great. They were so welcoming to me, and I'm so grateful. Even Bishop Carrington from the pulpit, I'll never forget, he said, "That's my other son. You mess with him, you mess with me." I knew I was in. I played here for 15 years, and I loved every moment of it. I got to know so many of you. You got to know me and my family. You prayed for me. I prayed for you. I just want to say thank you so much. And all because of Dee, here we are. So I want to honor him. I want to play this song that we wrote together, and funny enough, in 2003, we asked Brent Jones if we could do this song here at Friendship. He heard the song and he said, "Yeah, I love that song. You should do it." So Dee and I, we performed this song here at Friendship. It's called Gift of a Smile. And I didn't expect to be performing it again so soon without my man. But I will just leave you with this. I am D, and he is me. The song's called Gift of a Smile. This is my daughter Alexa, by the way.
Wow. Gift of a Smile. Man. What a time, what a time, what a time. So, this has been an episode. This has been episode 15. Shared some my history. We played some videos, shared some pictures, and next week we'll be back with episode 16. Episode 16. Can't believe it. We've been going once a week, every Tuesday since early March. And we are in the middle of June. So we're keeping this consistent. We're keeping this rolling. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we've got a show coming up in LA at the Mint. towards the end of August. It's a Saturday night. I expect all of you that are in town, come pack this thing out. You're not going to want to miss Barry and Kelly and me doing our thing. So details should be coming probably tomorrow or the next day, but pretty soon. And you'll be able to get your tickets because you're going to want to get them, because I have a feeling it's going to sell out, which is a great thing. So I'm going to leave you with the last song over Dee's title card, which is Comeback Kings. We had recorded an EP called Comeback Kings, and this is the title track, with Eddie Kramer producing. And we recorded this at East West Studios in Los Angeles. And it's a theme song for the underdog. We were talking about, Beth was asking me earlier what inspires songs. So this was, I'm a big sports fan. I love football and hockey and baseball and basketball, and love rooting for the underdog. Well, if my team's the underdog, which I'm a big Washington Capitals fan, and typically they're the underdogs, and okay, they won the Stanley Cup finally last year, which was cool. But usually, they're not doing so great. Or they're doing great throughout the season, and then we get to the playoffs, and then we tank it. But anyway, Comeback Kings. It's a song for the underdog. Until next week, have a great one. On behalf of Barry and Kelly and myself, we love you. See you next week.
Looking for a comeback, thrill of the game, nothing left to lose, only guts and blood remain. Don't count out the dawn that'll take you down, searching for a hero, one that lights the way, hungry for the looking for a comeback, thrill of the game, nothing left to lose, only guts and blood remain. Don't count out the dawn that'll take you down, searching for a hero, one that lights the way, hungry for the glory. Revive the golden days, losing feeds the burn. We are the comeback kings, gonna wear a crown. Gonna wear a crown. We are the comeback kings, gonna wear a crown. Gonna wear a crown. Waiting on a legend, blaze the comeback trail.